Today's hearing coming as President Trump calls on Congress to boost the spending for the military substantially, too, by the way, and supercharge America's defense industry, ensuring that the U.S. can dominate for years to come. But questioning likely to focus on Operation Epic Fury, ongoing, started back on the 28th of February. U.S. Marines boarding a ship suspected of attempting to sail to Iran in violation of the naval blockade. That vessel later released after a search confirmed the ship was heading to a different destination. Remember, you cannot go in and out of an Iranian port. CENTCOM reporting a total of 39 ships have now been redirected during the blockade. Senator Tim Sheehy last hour telling us the regime is under increased pressure due to the economic impact.
The reality is that the only economic lifeline Iran has is their oil industry. What we've done lately, especially with our own blockade of the Straits, is ensure that access to oil for the global markets to discounted, sanctioned Iranian oil is, of course, being cut off. And as you're seeing those ships pile up in the ports, what's ultimately going to happen is Iran's oil production is going to collapse, because if those wells don't constantly run, the wells shut down. So we've got them between a rock and a hard place.
So Jennifer Griffin, Chief National Security Correspondent on the Hill, getting ready for the hearing and much more. And Jennifer, let's start a new hour with you. Good morning.
Hello, Bill. Well, we just saw Secretary Hegseth and General Kane go into the briefing room. This is their first testimony under oath since the Iran war began on February 28th. They will face the House Armed Services Committee today, and tomorrow they'll be back on the Hill to face the Senate Armed Services Committee tomorrow. The reason for the hearing is a request for $1.5 trillion for their budget of 2027. That's next year's budget. It is up $500 billion since a year ago, and the expected $80 to $100 billion request for a supplemental to cover the first 2 months of the Iran war, which was not budgeted for last year. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have been frustrated about the lack of transparency and answers to basic questions about how much the war is costing. Then there's the issue of munition stockpiles and how seriously they've been depleted. There have been many reports that the Pentagon is not telling the president how serious the shortages are of missile interceptors like the Patriot and THAAD missile interceptors, which often take more than a year and a half to produce. There are bound to be questions about why the Pentagon has not sent $400 million in appropriated weapons to Ukraine, which was authorized by Congress a year ago. Senator Mitch McConnell wrote a scathing op-ed in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about the Pentagon, especially its policy chief, Elbridge Colby, ignoring questions from Congress and blocking that aid. There will be questions about the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and how long it can last. And lawmakers are bound to ask about the firing by Secretary Hegseth of the popular Army Chief General Randy George and Navy Secretary John Phelan, amidst rising concerns that these unexplained firings are hollowing out the leadership of the Pentagon. Expect questions about the Iran strategy. Today marks 60 days since the war started. That means that the Pentagon and the White House are supposed to come to Congress under the War Powers Act to request authorization if they want to continue. Bill?
Okay, Jennifer.